mountains.
Let's paint a vision, your imagination. It started moving round the world. Dream car. Let's paint a vision, your imagination. It started moving round the world. From a sketch on a piece of paper, come together now. Dream car.
Let's go look for Mitsubishi Electric around the world. Singapore. Found it. Jakarta. Yeah! Tokyo. New Zealand. Kuala Lumpur. Italy. Mitsubishi Electric.
Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Makia Rai.
And I'm Hidemi Naganuma.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan from a studio here in Tokyo.
From the economy to culture and even food, if you want to find out the latest in Japan, this is where you'll find it.
And these are our topics for today.
In Dream Weavers, a company producing innovative common spring.
In Project Japan, corporate branding in Asia gets a kick from soccer.
From World Business Satellite, Japan's gemstone industry mines new strategies to fight shrinking demand.
And in Takumi, automating a process that we take for granted. So let's get started. First up is Dream Weavers, in which we introduce the one-of-a-kind techniques and technologies of Japan's small and mid-sized companies.
We'll be featuring Murata Spring, which is known for its high-quality springs in Japan.
Well, I understand the company faces the same problems affecting the entire Japanese manufacturing industry.
That seems the case. Recently, the mass retirement of the generation born between 1947 and 1949 was a big topic here because so many seasoned and skilled craftsmen were leaving the field, and so there were concerns that technical and technological capabilities will decline significantly.
Well, it's been said that those people are the backbone of the Japanese manufacturing industry, so it'll be a huge loss for companies.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. And to address this issue, a growing number of firms are raising the retirement age, extending our work hours, and rehiring retirees. And that's helped to mitigate the fallout, but sooner or later they will get older, so the mass retirement wave is an issue.
Well, with small and mid-sized companies making up the bulk of the Japanese manufacturing industry, it's a big problem not just for the business, but Japan as a whole.
Yeah, so we went out to find out how the country's top spring maker, Murata Spring, is dealing with this issue. Take a look.
Utsunomiya, Tochigi Prefecture. This is home to Murata Spring, a spring manufacturer founded 102 years ago. They have 309 employees and annual sales of 8.6 billion yen. Most of the people who work here were born and grew up in the prefecture. The springs made at this place are used in a range of products, from homes to mobile phones and even rockets. Among them, the mainstay for the company is springs for vehicles and construction equipment. The company's strength is its broad range of products, which gives it the flexibility to meet the detailed requirements of customers. They make 40 million springs of 4,000 varieties every month. A spring maker with sophisticated technical capabilities and a solid business. But many of the engineers who were instrumental in overturning industry conventions are over 60 years old and starting to hang up their hats.
No matter how advanced the equipment, making springs is difficult work.
The skills and knowledge built up over the years Will they be able to pass on their passion for craftsmanship to the younger generation? Visiting the site is a photographer who has been taking pictures of people from a slightly different viewpoint.
You look busy.
How will he capture the people here and the springs they make on camera? Photographer Masashi Asada has just finished his factory tour. It's now time to meet the employees who make the company what it is. First, he gets them to gather together during their lunch break.
People who like attention, stand in front.
They are all holding springs. Commemorative photos are something Mr. Asada takes seriously. Is this his opportunity to get closer to the subjects?
From that position, stand up like you're springs. I'll take the picture at that moment. I'll do my best. You're a spring company. People who can jump should jump. Okay, everybody smile. Ready? Go! The people with the big ones have wonderful smiles.
Mr. Asada starts walking through the factory on his own. He talks to workers along the way.
What are you doing now? Making clutch springs. When this moves by comma 1, it means a certain weight can be moved. Comma 1?
With these springs, when the space between the first and second levels widens by 1/10 of a millimeter, the strength falls by 6 kilograms.
You look busy.
Next, Mr. Asada speaks to an employee who's been with the company for 11 years.
It's actually quite fun. What's fun about it? We make prototypes and start by drawing up a blueprint. Making something from scratch is a lot of fun. Is there anyone in the company you look up to? Someone I look up to. My boss. I want to be able to do things like he does. Is that him?
So who is this person respected by his underlings?
Are you busy? Can you talk? The tall young guy I was just chatting with said you're the one he looks up to the most. Working at our company is an extremely technical occupation. It's critical that we hire and nurture young people. Passing on technical skills is difficult after all. You look like a promising young worker. Put your arms on each other's shoulders. It's like I'm resting my arms on you. You're too big. When I told him what the younger guy said about him, he said that he's the most promising of the younger guys. I felt a kind of mutual respect. They both have pride in the work they do. Talking to them, you feel they have a really cool relationship.
Mr. Asada continues walking around the factory.
How many years have you worked here?
He speaks to a worker who appears to be a long-timer.
What do you feel is the best part of making springs? It's never ending. Every day I learn something new. After 40 years in the field, what's your biggest impression? There were a couple of times I wanted to quit, in the beginning especially. Thinking about it now, I think I did quite good. I can't do anything else. This is my specialty.
One of the most difficult aspects of spring making is figuring out the characteristics of the main material, the wire. The wires are made from steel combined with various other materials such as chromium, nickel, and silicon. They say the level of difficulty is different from typical metal processing.
Depending on the characteristics of the materials, it won't always work in the same way. It's different each time. That's why it's difficult.
In spring making, the wire used and the coiling method are different for each type, requiring the machines to be constantly adjusted. That task takes 2 hours for a seasoned worker. A young worker might need a full day.
Unless you actually do it yourself, you won't be able to get a feel for it. I was taught that it doesn't matter how many times you fail, just do it on your own. That's how I was able to learn how to do things. Without failing, you can't grow.
Murata Spring proactively assigns tasks to young workers. Constantly under pressure to keep up with delivery schedules, it would be more efficient for veteran workers to teach the young ones. But the company's policy is to make young workers think on their own and acquire the ability to solve problems independently. When they hit an obstacle, the young workers work together to solve the problem. One worker is trying to figure out why a machine has suddenly stopped working. An 11th year employee. He calls over 2 people of about the same age to discuss the problem.
The top and the bottom, both.
His colleague. He finds small scratches on the springs. He believes it has to do with the roller that pushes out the material. The 3 start inspecting the 6 rollers.
This is no good. This side is worn cleanly, but here, if you touch it, it's rough. This is what's scratching the springs, the surface. So we need to change the roller.
We asked them about their goals for the future.
I want to develop my skills even more and be able to teach others how to do things. About coiling. The high-speed, high-performance spring molding machine is something I've never worked. So I want to gradually learn how, and eventually be able to teach the new people who come to work here. I'm hoping a spring with a real difficult shape comes my way. I want to take on that challenge. Yes, it's more satisfying. Thank you for everything. You guys are great. Perfect. Thank you.
This time, Mr. Asada took about 1,000 pictures. What are the attractions of Murata Spring revealed through them?
I felt again how everyone is working there with great facial expressions. Smiles aren't something you can put on. You can always tell if it's real or fake. But this is perfect. Thank you.
And other impressions after the shoot.
Looking at this, these gloves, they're dirty. I didn't really notice them. And a cut on his hand. I didn't see that then. See? There's a cut. I don't know what happened here, but it's definitely cut.
Mr. Asada also secretly took one of his signature pictures.
My forte is family-type photos. A father, mother, and 2 kids. This depicts everyone who's working there. All kinds of people are working to make springs. This is something that you just can't take a picture of unless you go on site. It's not something you can do with just a bunch of springs.
Murata Spring, a company where people have a love of springs and are constantly smiling. Passing on and carrying on age-old technical skills is not a smooth road, but the young workers here are overcoming obstacles using their own abilities.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tokyo Skytree. Be awestruck by the panoramic view. There are so many other fun things to do after you've enjoyed the view. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go, let's enjoy. This is Tokyo Skytree. Sasuke, a new type of sports entertainment program conquering the world.
It's about human achievement and people's passions, and I think that relates to almost everybody.
From Japan to the world, Ninja Warrior, Tokyo Broadcasting System.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we have a report from the Project Japan. So, Naganuma-san, what's the topic?
Well, first I'd like to ask you, do you play or watch soccer?
I play and watch. Well, I played soccer for 10 years and was a captain for my soccer team at university.
Wow, that's impressive and good to know, because today we'll be looking at corporate branding through the sport of soccer. This March, Japanese farm equipment maker Yanmar signed contract to become the top corporate sponsor of Vietnam's national soccer team.
Well, soccer is definitely big in Japan, but I've heard it's the most popular sport in many countries in Asia. So what does the company hope to achieve through this branding strategy?
Well, Vietnam is one of the top exporter of rice, and about 70% of its labor force are working in agriculture. And Yanmar has only recently started a full-scale entry into the local market. We have a report on how soccer may help bridge Japan and Asia. Take a look.
The Project Japan. This March, a top Japanese farm equipment maker, Yanmar, signed an agreement to sponsor the 23 and under men's national soccer team of Vietnam. Under the terms, the company's logo will be printed on the back of the players' practice uniforms, and a billboard put up in the stadium. Yanmar will also provide support in selling match tickets and promoting the team. Ken Araki oversees the company's brand strategy and took part in the signing ceremony. He explains the aim of the sponsorship deal.
Vietnam is the most important market in Asia and will grow the fastest. That's how we see this market. Yanmar has been doing business with Vietnam for about 60 years. Agriculture will become even more modernized here. We don't simply want to supply equipment. We want to work together with the people to solve the many issues they're struggling with. We want to provide what we call solutions to stand in the shoes of our customers and help them adopt what we've been doing in Japan as quickly as possible to work together to modernize agriculture. In this sense, we're not simply a company that makes and supplies equipment. We want to make this country even better together with the people of Vietnam. To communicate what we want to do, we can't just have a commercial that says, "We're Yanmar." We need to send out a strong message that we're passionate about Vietnam, that we're going to work together. We felt that the best way to get our feelings across is to become a sponsor of the national team.
Vietnam is one of the world's top exporters of rice. Agriculture is the primary industry and employs 70% of the working population, or about 30 million people. By becoming a sponsor of the national team for soccer, the most popular sport in the country, Yanmar hopes it will raise brand recognition and lead to greater sales of farm equipment. The company has also been a longtime supporter of soccer in Japan and is the owner of Cerezo Osaka of J-League, the country's professional soccer league. Together with the team, Yanmar has been carrying out various promotional activities in Asia, such as holding soccer classes. J-League has also been carrying out a branding strategy in Asia since 2012. Their objective?
The population in Japan is continuing to shrink and gray. We felt that there was no way to envision growth by promoting soccer only in the Japanese market. Looking a step beyond to fast-growing Asia, especially the ASEAN member countries, we started thinking if there might be some way for us to grow together. That was the beginning of the J-League's Asia strategy. We are telling potential partners that we will provide the know-how of J-League free of charge and want to contribute to the development of domestic leagues.
J-League kicked off in 1993 with 10 teams and later added the J2 and J3 categories. At the start of the 2015 season, it comprised of 52 clubs based in 37 regions across Japan. It currently has partnerships with leagues in 8 countries, such as Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Cambodia, and helps promote J-League teams in the Asian region.
We really want Japanese teams to represent their local communities and go abroad. The league by itself doesn't have the power to expand internationally. Ultimately, the teams are the ones who have the players and the fans. So, what we want to do is support them in representing their communities as they go out into the world. As for Yanmar, in Japan, the brand is widely known. But there's little growth prospect for the domestic agriculture market and the boating market. In Asia, to sell farm equipment or boats, it's necessary to raise recognition of the Yanmar brand. And we believe that if Cerezo Osaka, which Yanmar sponsors, plays matches or holds soccer classes locally, it will lead to greater brand recognition and consumer interest. By carrying out such activities, the sponsorship fee paid by Yanmar to Cerezo Osaka could increase. A team that was formerly domestically focused is now more international and could demand a higher sponsorship fee. I think that would be a big advantage for a club.
The Vietnam national soccer team, with which Yanmar signed a sponsorship deal, has been led by a Japanese coach, Toshiya Miura, since May 2014. Mr. Miura has 10 years of experience working with J-League teams. The systematic playing style of the Japanese team that helped the country reach 5 consecutive World Cup finals, and coaches with that know-how, are said to be highly regarded in Asia.
In terms of the market, soccer is everywhere around the world, so there's really no need to stay trapped in Japan. I think it's important to continually aim to reach a higher level. It's been about 10 years since Japanese players started going abroad. I feel the time has come for coaches to go overseas as well.
Vietnam has opened its doors to Japanese corporate sponsors, teams, and coaches. The Secretary General of the Vietnam Football Federation explains why.
With the sponsorship from the Japanese corporate in Vietnam, we hope that the cooperation tie between the Vietnam and Japan is really better, and we hope that we can utilize the system from the Japan corporate to develop the Vietnamese football.
I think it makes people in any country very happy to see that Japanese companies are supporting things they love. If they feel that Yanmar is providing support to make their own national team stronger, then the reputation of Yanmar will grow. People who didn't know about Yanmar will recognize the brand. And through such activities, if the Vietnam team really becomes strong, we'll be able to build the win-win relationship that J-League is hoping for. It will lead to mutual growth, and more companies will want to sponsor teams in the ASEAN region. Being able to grow together is a wonderful thing. We want more people to know about our activities, and becoming a sponsor in this way can produce a big impact. People will recognize Yanmar as a company that supports Vietnam, that can lead them to give our products a try. Or dealers might say they're interested in carrying our products. Those aspects are part of our big strategy. Soccer in Vietnam and Japan is still not at a very high level compared to Europe. We hope it improves so that we can say Yanmar played a role. We believe it will become a big asset for us in the future.
Omron is a company like no other. It defines expectations because engineers are constantly working on something new. Machines that are attuned to the way people think and move. Therein lies technology that will one day help the future. We automate. Omron.
Mitsui & Company.
Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact in Chinese, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
And next we have a report from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite. So what's the topic?
It's about gemstones. I have a graph here showing the retail market for gemstones and precious metals in Japan.
So I see that it peaked at about 3 trillion yen in 1991 and is now down to 1 trillion yen.
Yes, the market took big hits from the bursting of the bubble economy and the 2008 financial crisis. And after the earthquake and tsunami in northeastern Japan in 2011, it broke below 900 billion yen.
Well, I've heard that another reason is shrinking demand in the bridal industry because fewer couples are getting married now. Even so, especially in terms of Japanese pearls, the quality is said to be extremely high, so I imagine demand is still there globally. So what's the industry doing to grow sales?
Well, the domestic market is shrinking, but the market overseas is gradually growing, such as China. Take a look.
Hong Kong has flourished as a duty-free port with its spectacular evening view. The city has been called the Pearl of the Orient. It is also a major player in the global gemstone trade. This shop is run by a company that's considered one of the biggest gem dealers in the world.
Many Japanese before. Hundreds every day. Now 2/3 are Chinese. They spend several $1,000s each.
Especially noticeable in recent years are young Chinese whose incomes have been on the rise. Diamond and platinum products costing several $1,000s are said to be the most popular. In early March, one of the world's biggest jewelry shows was held in the city. This year, a record 4,360 companies participated. 76,000 buyers were also on site.
This trip is very good. We're well done. We're very good. Now is a Chinese more.
Standing out in this spacious venue with its red and white decorations is the pavilion housing the Japanese pearl industry. This is its 6th year here, and 100 firms are showcasing products. Japanese pearl products are highly regarded for their quality, and on this day too, there's a crowd of Chinese buyers.
My customers like Akuya pearls from Japan. Japanese products are high quality.
As the importance of Hong Kong grows among participating firms, there are some that are already generating half their sales in the city.
We can't survive in the Japanese market alone. Hong Kong is clearly important. We're hoping to reach a major milestone. 100 million yen. The potential of Asia is so great. Europe or the US just can't compete. If you're not in Hong Kong, you'll miss out on a business opportunity.
One of the dealers, Kazuhito Komatsu, heads to another booth to pitch his products. He is a German jewelry designer based in Hong Kong and a regular customer of Mr. Komatsu.
South Sea pearl or Akoya pearl?
South Sea.
South Sea.
This is top quality.
So expensive.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah,
well,
because nice quality pearl, very expensive now, right?
These pearls actually have a specially cut surface, something he's had his eyes on.
South Sea pearl drop. This is already ready. The uniqueness, which makes you being different from the other jewelry designer. Thank you very much, Komatsu-san.
Mr. Komatsu started selling pearls outside of Japan 3 years ago under the brand name Hana Shinju.
I came here with just the hope of selling everything I brought over. If you ask me if it went well, it didn't.
Mr. Komatsu is currently searching for a company overseas that will carry the brand. He meets a strong potential candidate.
We will push it very hard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's gotten a good lead on new sales channels. Also participating are 10 companies from Kochi Prefecture, which produces top-quality red coral. Coral for jewelry is highly sought after in China, with illegal poaching becoming a major issue in recent years. Companies in this field see big business opportunities. With China driving demand for gemstones, the global market is forecast to expand to 16 trillion yen over the next 3 years. In contrast, the Japanese market is stagnating. In the jewelry wholesale district of Okachimachi, Tokyo,
before, we didn't even have time for lunch. We were that busy, but now it's rare that we get customers.
Kofu, Yamanashi Prefecture. The discovery of crystals in the area led to the development of processing technologies, and the city now makes 1/3 of all jewelry in Japan. 2 years ago, the Yamanashi Jewelry Museum was opened here. A crystal with 180 facets. Yukio Shimizu is a 43-year veteran of this craft. He cuts an unimaginable number of facets onto the crystal by hand.
Nothing like it in the world. I'm not young. When I'm gone, this skill will be gone too. It'll be extinct.
There were more than 10,000 processing companies and wholesalers at one point. Now there are about 1,000 due to slumping domestic demand. The number of craftsmen is also shrinking.
15 years. That's why young people don't come.
10 minutes by car from the museum. This is the residence and factory of Mr. Komatsu, who was in Hong Kong to market his products. He is also involved in making the Hana Shinju items. Pearls have a softer surface than diamonds and can't be processed in detail using conventional grinding methods. That requires the technique of experienced craftsmen. The one-of-a-kind technique took a decade for Mr. Komatsu's father to develop and is a closely guarded secret.
I want to build a brand that'll still be around 100 years from now. That's my aim.
After setting up the brand 3 years ago, sales have increased by 1.5 times, and the business is back in the black. He plans to rebuild the factory to match the brand image.
The town of Kofu is a place that jewelers around the world know about. It's a place that will give a dream to anyone who visits.
Mr. Komatsu believes the shortage of craftsmen is a problem that can be overcome.
Young people now don't have dreams. That's why they don't join this industry. My hope is to leave behind a legacy through this brand.
The Japanese gem industry is highly regarded for its technical capabilities. The hope is that these moves overseas will lead to a jewelry renaissance.
Man, look at all these cars.
Hey, have you heard, by the way? The Japanese company Kobelco is working to make the world's cars lighter.
So what does that mean?
Kobelco is using aluminum and steel technologies to make car parts and bodies lighter around the world.
Ah, Japanese technology. The country of karate. Ha! Ha! Ha!
Why do we always do that?
I don't know.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
The sport truck. New Mitsubishi Triton.
Drive at Earth Mitsubishi Motors.
Channel Japan. Your source for the voices and views of people and businesses across Japan. The latest reports on Japanese companies, culture, and technology. Find out what's happening on the ground. Every week, direct from Tokyo, Channel Japan.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we bring you a segment called Takumi from Science View, a program produced by NHK that introduces the latest developments in science and technology in Japan.
Takumi means artist in Japanese, and it's a word to describe craftsmen with exceptional skills.
So, who's our Takumi today?
Our Takumi this time makes these.
Road signs.
Yes, now laying down these road signs can actually take a lot of time, and it's dangerous because it's often done on roadways open to traffic.
I've seen that going on while driving, and there's hardly any space between the work area and my car.
Yes, and because of these tough conditions at work, it's said to be one reason why young people are shying away from this field. But now one company has developed an innovative device to solve this. Take a look.
Hi, Michelle. Today we're going to meet a Takumi or innovator who came up with an invention that's got something to do with this. Road marking. This is Tottori City in Tottori Prefecture. The area is mainly known for manufacturing electronic goods. I visited a company here that constructs traffic safety facilities such as road markings and traffic signs. This is today's Takumi or innovator, Koji Ogura. For many years, he was part of the design and development department at a leading electronics manufacturer. I heard that you invented something very interesting.
That's right.
What is it that you invented?
This is it.
What is it?
It's a robot.
This is a robot that draws the road markings preliminary lines. Underneath the robot, there's a disc-shaped marking chalk. The marking chalk touches the surface of the ground and draws lines as the robot moves. The outline is first made by computer. The machine is capable of making straight lines and intricate curves. We asked them to draw our logo, which is the kanji character Takumi. Well, I've been told that it's easy to use, so I'll give it a try. First, press this button, and it's going to be ready. Run! So, let's go! I wasn't actually operating the machine. I just pressed the start button, and the robot moved on its own. The way it moves is really adorable. It's finished in no time. Look at that! This is great! It took about 20 minutes for the robot to draw this. The character Takumi has a lot of curves, but it's drawn beautifully. It's very nicely drawn. You can see the word Takumi perfectly. Until now, the preliminary lines were all drawn by hand using chalk or string lines. But as you can see, it meant that they needed additional auxiliary lines. And erasing them afterwards required more work. It was also hard to figure out which part needed to be painted at first glance.
The road marking industry was introduced to Japan prior to the Tokyo Olympics in 1964, but it hasn't changed since then. It's still done the old way.
There was another reason behind the creation of this robot. Working on busy roads meant that the workers faced a constant risk of accidents. Creating this robot would protect the workers' lives. That's when the Takumi was called upon. He immediately set to work and enlisted the help of former co-workers from his electronic manufacturing days. They set out to do a trial run with a prototype, but stumbled across an unexpected problem. The machine went off course after just 2 meters.
The test run was just terrible. I guess we assumed that the roads were generally flat.
Roads are usually made higher in the center to facilitate drainage. It's different from road to road, but there's usually a slope on both sides starting from the center. To give it stability, the Takumi set his eyes on the robot's center of gravity. In the prototype, the center of gravity was exactly in the center of the vehicle. But this caused the vehicle to fall to the lower side of the slope and then slide towards the center line. The Takumi adjusted it so that the center of gravity was directly above the driving wheels in the front. As a result, the robot was able to move forward without going off course. The Takumi also used a laser to improve the robot's precision. First, we placed 2 poles as a reference point in the drawing field. Laser reflecting sheets are wrapped around the poles. The robot irradiates a laser beam and determines its position in relation to the 2 poles. It's then able to calculate its position based on all the angles. The robot checks its position and draws according to the program data. The development process took 3 years and 4 months. Now, after hundreds of test runs, it's finally complete. We asked the Takumi what manufacturing means to him.
We place the biggest importance on the manufacturing process. We get fresh data that can be used for whatever product we develop next. I must say that it's the process that means the most to us.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you, so join us again next week.